I hear it all the time. What is the difference between medical billing and revenue cycle management? So today we're going to tackle the differences, briefly talk you through the differences, and help you understand clearly why we use one over the other. And I want you all to be able to clarify for other people exactly what medical billing is and what it is not, and what is revenue cycle and what it is not. All right, so today we're going to talk about this. But before we do, welcome. My name is Jasmine Vializ. I have more than 2 decades of experience in the business of healthcare. And here in this space in Inlera University, we are committed to alleviating the stress and confusion in the business of healthcare. In today's video, we're talking about the differences between medical billing and revenue cycle management. And I want this to be crystal clear to you before you leave this space. Now, little bit of a disclaimer, most people do not use the terms in the right way. So you might be super confident and know exactly what they mean and know exactly how to clarify for other people, but beware that you might be the only person in the room that really knows the differences. So someone might use one term over the other and mean something totally different. So maybe you work to educate, or maybe you just let it slide because it's healthcare. And that's kind of what we get used to, is people doing things the way that they do it. And they've done it like that for a while. And it's kind of hard to fight and argue about everything because there's lots of things that we could be focused on. So we don't want to waste our energy. So with that said, medical billing, we're going to put here on the back end. We're going to talk revenue cycle management because that is a bigger piece of this entire pie. So think of revenue cycle management as the entire way that the healthcare revenue cycle, the healthcare financial arm operates. Okay, so when we say revenue cycle, exactly what that means, it's the way that the money moves through healthcare. So the cycle being healthcare and the revenue being the money. And so we talk about revenue cycle being the way that the money moves through healthcare. And that starts at the top of our cycle here, which is when our patient makes it into our office. So at the top of the cycle, our patient is either referring themselves or they're coming by way of referral from another provider into a healthcare organization or practice, and they make their appointment, they have their visit, they pay their copays and other responsibilities. They then go and are checked out, and the provider has completed their notes, and from their notes, a claim is created. So once we get to that stage and the claim is created, that's when the term medical billing pops up. Because what we do is we compile all of the information from their visit, we create a claim, and we send that claim or bill that claim to a carrier, okay, to a third party. And so when we are sending that claim or billing that claim, that is where the medical billing pieces are typically going to be taking place. So yes, sometimes medical billers can be tasked with things that are on the front end of the revenue cycle that I just mentioned around the patient visit, charges and diagnoses and things like that, all the pieces that comprise the claim. However, the medical billing parts actually take place when the claim is going to be sent to insurance, and then when we want the balance to show up at zero. So the actual visit and clinical side and the patient getting scheduled, all that typically does not involve a medical biller. And what happens in that revenue cycle piece and that front part, the money is still being generated. So the financials are being created. So the revenue cycle is starting. So the front desk, clinical staff are all a part of the revenue cycle. They may not know or identify with their part in the revenue cycle, but they are absolutely a part of the revenue cycle. So when we talk about managing the revenue cycle or revenue cycle management, that is from when the patient visit is the patient refers themselves or gets them to a practice before that visit, and all the way through to when the balance is resolved, and when we're even thinking about potentially that patient coming back or making sure that our patient balance has been modified or cleaned up, or the patient account is maintained well by audits and other things. Okay, so that entire process by way of the balance becoming zero, and some of the other checks and balances that are going to take place in our billing department or in our financial arm or even in the clinical side, that makes it possible for our patient to be seen again or referred to another provider. Okay, so the revenue cycle itself is the entire process, the entire scope of how we might be treating our patient and allowing our patient to make their way into our practice and potentially come back, or out of our practice to a referral outside elsewhere. Okay, so we're talking about the cycle. We call it a cycle because the patients can come back, and oftentimes they do coming back in for follow-ups and checkups and other visits for future visits. And so we typically see everything start over again, whether it's with our practice or with another practice. Okay, so the revenue cycle is its entirety. The claim, when it's created, and the information that is pulled together to be able to create that claim, is when the billing, the medical billing part starts. And the medical biller's job is usually stops at the point in which our patient balance has been resolved. So whether or not it's from the insurance side or that third party or the patient themselves, this responsibility of our medical biller is to ensure that the balance becomes zero. Some of the checks and balances and making sure our patients make it back into the practice or to the referring provider, that is still a part of the revenue cycle. However, typically is not managed by the medical biller themselves, someone who might be doing the medical billing. All right. I hope that helps clear things up for you. So what I want to know is what questions you have after you heard this breakdown of medical billing versus revenue cycle management. Can you put that into the comments below? What are the things that you're still struggling with? What do you need me to reiterate? What do you need me to slow down for you? I will hopefully be able to come back with some answers for you in the future. But until then, I look forward to seeing you real soon, and you guys stay well. See you in the next video. Bye-bye now.